Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Top Voices channel and our Community Talk series. My name is Sofia, and our guest today is Yuliia Krupenko, Fractional CMO at a still small travel startup with more than 14 years of experience across fintech, insurtech, mobility, and more. And today we will discuss go to market across borders, how to launch in a new country without burning cash. And I think it will be very interesting. And let's get started. Yulia, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Sophia. Hi, everyone. I'm Yuliia, and today we'll talk about how to launch in a new country without wasting money or your team's energy, basically. So everything today is based on real experience from working in global tech. So it's not just theory. So here's what I'm going to talk today about. So we'll cover why expansion usually fails, when it actually makes sense to expand, how to pick the market, what proper localization looks like, how to run a 30-day test plan before committing to something bigger. So basically today, there's going to be nothing abstract, and everything here is something you can apply even tomorrow. So just quickly about me. So I have more than 14 years of working in global tech, mainly on communications and marketing roles. I'm former communications director at BlaBlaCar, and most recently I was leading marketing at Waggel. It's the UK-based pet tech pet insurance startup. So I have experience in building and scaling brands across different markets, mainly European, the US, and also in the UK. Sometimes I'm speaking, mentoring young marketing professionals and advising to tech startups and to tech communities here in the UK and in Europe in general. So the main idea for today is really simple. So most expansion fails because teams go into a new country before they understand demand. And that's the big problem. So I've seen companies launch in huge markets just because it felt right, or the market was big and they assumed they would be successful. But to be honest, it rarely ends well. So normally expansion fails for really predictable reasons. So I've listed some of them here. So first reason is that there is no product market fit, which is basically a poor retention at the home market. So if users don't stay in your core market, they won't stay anywhere else. And that could be the big problem. Then another reason is copy pasting. So copy pasting without adapting, without localizing, just from your home market, usually never works. So by copy pasting, I mean using the same messages, using the same channels, just replicating content abroad that worked at home. Even if it was successful, usually when we are doing that for another market, it never works. Just because different countries simply don't think or buy the same way. The third reason is the wrong market choice. It's actually a big one. So sometimes founders go to the US because it's big market, even though they could have grown much faster in Spain, in Portugal, in Poland, or any other country for like a small amount of the cost that they would need for the US. And the reason of that is that they have zero local insight. And it means we just know nothing about the market we would like to expand. Another reason is that overspending early, and it's really, really common. So hiring local team members, hiring the PR agency or the in-house PR team, running partnerships and collaborations, collaborating with influencers, before knowing if anyone wants the product in general. So local team is great, PR agency is amazing, influencer marketing, we all love it, but we should be doing that after we know the market really, really well. And finally, underestimating the work needed for localization and support is why global expansion could not work at all. So generally, there are situations where expansion becomes a bad idea. So first, if retention is very unstable. So for example, you're already fighting fires at home, so the new country will only add more problems. The next one is customer acquisition cost. So if you have it unpredictable, launching abroad usually make it worse. It just goes up. It goes uncontrollable. It's hard to stabilize and to find the best acquisition cost possible. The third one is that when your ICP, so ideal customer profile, is not clear, so you'll struggle with messaging at any market. You just won't be able to find the right positioning. You won't be able to explain what your product is about, basically. The next one is that when the product keeps changing, so the product is just not ready yet. So we are adding new features. We are deleting some of features that we think we don't need for the early stage, etc., etc. So the product is not final, and the team won't be able to keep up with two markets or more markets at once. And the last one is the capacity of the team, basically, and the bandwidth for new market operations. So expansion works when all these basics are stable, because if they're not, so expansion will just amplify existing challenges and problems. So when to expand? So first one is the retention should be predictable, because we would like to go to new markets when we have something that already works really, really well. The second one is that when we have a repeatable acquisition engine, so it's not just about one lucky campaign on Meta or TikTok when we had great numbers, we had great conversion, and then we assume that another campaign will perform as well as that one. So we need to be confident to test new markets. The third one is ideal customer profile. So when we know who's our ideal customer, everything goes much easier, and localization goes much easier. So we are showing the product has pulled beyond our core market. And then when our team has the bandwidth, so we are able to localize, to adapt the product for the new market without burning our team members out. So when all these conditions align, expansion basically becomes like a growth lever rather than like a constant distraction from objectives, for example, on our main market. So the next one, so let's imagine all these conditions align. We have the perfect situation. We are ready to expand to the new market. Our product is ready. We have the team that is happy to work on localization, on adaptation, on finding new customers. So how to pick the market? So there is like a pretty straightforward framework. So when you compare markets, there are 6 really simple filters. And this framework really keeps you objective and stops you from choosing markets based on, intuition, excitement, or assumptions. So first is demand. So basically, this is the answer to the question, are people actually looking for a solution like yours? So even basic search volume or early organic traffic can tell you a lot. Then acquisition cost potential. So some markets are simply too expensive, like the US or the UK in Europe. So if you cannot acquire users at a really sustainable cost, so it's not the right first step because it's going to be too expensive and too messy in the end. So third one is competition. So basically, it's not just the number of competitors, but it's like how strong they are and whether there is a gap you can realistically fill. The fourth one is the buying power. So it actually means whether people have the ability or the willingness to pay for what you offer, for your product, for your app, for your subscription, etc. So the market can love your product, but it could be low value, for example, or it could be too expensive. So you need to clarify this. And finally, internal readiness. So by this, I mean, does your team have the bandwidth to support this market, to launch the campaign, to localize, to work on adaptation, to organize customer support, etc., etc., without slowing everything down. So if the market you would like to expand to scores poorly on 3 or more from this list, usually it means it's not worth testing. Now, it's better to focus where the fundamentals are already in your favor. So this is basically the market readiness scorecard. And this scorecard, this framework is used for many startups from different world-known startup incubators, tech communities. So this scorecard is just a structured way to compare markets side by side. It definitely removes guesswork and forces you to look at the data about the specific market. So how it works. So you rate each factor from 1 to 5. So 1 is the lowest, 5 is the highest. It doesn't need to be really perfect. So we would like to aim for a clear direction. We would like to have as much clarity about the new market as we can. So for example, demand signals could be search volume, early inbound traffic, or even when people are mentioning about your product online or in social media. So customer acquisition cost or channel fit, they will tell you whether the market is affordable to test in general. Because some countries have cheaper clicks, for example, or they have more scalable channels than others. So we want to know about that on the new market as well. So then competition, we would like to check not only how many players exist, but how well positioned they are, whether people love them. Sometimes even on the crowded market, there are obvious gaps which your startup can easily fill. Then the buying power is pretty straightforward, like why and will people pay your price? And some markets are just too complicated to run it. The product could be just a bit more expensive and people won't use it. Then trust and regulation. So this one is actually it actually matters more than many founders expect. So in some countries, people convert fast. In others, they want more proof or more reassurance, or they don't trust the product, or there are some compliance gaps, or it's all about legal issues. So you would like to check all these things as well before entering the new market. Then internal readiness. It's just about being realistic about your startup and your team. So do you have the bandwidth to run tests, to run first campaigns, to localize, to support users if it works and if the product is successful? So once you score each market, for example, you can take like from 2 to 4 to 5 of those. So you're going to have this pattern, and you'll usually see one market pulling slightly ahead and one or two that clearly aren't worth testing right now. So localization is what comes next, and localization is often really misunderstood, because localization is not just translate the landing page and translate the social media post. If that's all you do, your conversion will drop in every new market, because basically real localization, it means thinking about 6 things. It's your message, it's the proof you show, then the price, then the experience your user will have, then support, so how will you fix users' problems, and the channels you invest in. And every market has its own expectations. So, for example, a message that works in the UK might just fall flat in Italy or in any other country. A pricing model that works in France might feel really expensive in Spain. The channel that works in Poland might not move the needle in Germany, etc., etc. So each market is really, really different. So we should think about all these 6 elements at once, and the product, if we are successful, so the product immediately will feel more natural, and that's when startups usually see better conversion, because people start trust the product. And so what local means, it's actually also really important factor while expanding to the new market. So the thing is that when something feels local, people trust it faster. So local testimonials, local fears addressed, competitors' context, even payment methods, as we all know, are really, really different. Channels are different. So the more your product looks and sounds like it was built for that market, the smoother the funnel becomes. So it's easier to get trust, it's easier to get early users. Everything becomes really, really easier, because if people feel everything is kind of imported, the conversion will be pretty low. There is one simple positioning rule that works pretty much everywhere. So our core value stays the same. So like the core brand promise, like what, for what reason we created this startup, this product. But what changes is how we talk about that. So how we frame it per country. So the underlying value of your product doesn't shift country to country. It stays the same. But this emotional angle, when we are talking about the pain, the problem we are solving, or the motivation why people need to use a product, this is what is changing. So, for example, the travel safety product solves one core problem, but on one market, we are focusing on safety, on another one, on convenience, on the third one, on community. And we can do pretty much the same with any startup in any industry. So the product doesn't change, but the framing does change. And that's basically the key, how to position the product for each new market. There is another framework. So this is the simple, low-cost way to test new markets before really committing. So you can take 4 weeks, 1 month. During the first week, you take the previous framework and pick 3 markets using the 6-factor model we just talked about. So we want markets that look strong on paper and low risk to test, and ideally low or medium budget to test. Then week 2 is to build one landing page per market and run small ads. Even 200, 300 pounds is enough. So we would like to get understanding of early intent, click behavior, and whether people bother to read at all. So week 3 is to run user interviews. So ideally to have 10, 15, maybe more in each market, just to understand the real pain, trust barriers, willingness to pay, etc., like how people are ready to use the product. And the final week is to compare all these results. So cost per acquisition, signups, interview insights, general feeling of people who want or don't want to use the product. So in the end, you will have one market which outperforms. So pick that market and ignore all the rest until you're ready to go and check those once again. So this process actually saves months of guessing and avoids expensive mistakes for many startups. And there are a few mistakes to avoid that sometimes startups repeat across industries. So first one is they launch too early. So they are not driven by data, for example, or by readiness. Then they hired local teams too early. And that's actually one of the fastest ways to burn a lot of cash. Then starting with PR. So PR for startups is a multiplier. It's not the discovery tool. So at some point, we just don't need to think about PR at all. Then assuming English-speaking markets are easy, but in reality, they are sometimes some of the toughest. And the last one is expanding because investors expect it. Of course, investors expect startups to grow fast, but they want smart growth and they want data, they want insights, and they want campaigns and any other marketing activity based on all those insights. And lastly, the simple formula, I usually come back in every global project. It's just 4 parts. So narrow, test, localize, and scale. So most companies try to scale first and test later, which doesn't work. We should be thinking the other way around. So start narrow, like one market, not 3, not 5. Then test quickly, small experiments, not big budgets. We don't need thousands or tens of thousands. We need small budgets at first. Then localization, so adjusting messages, adjusting proof, sticking to one core value. Then scaling once, and understanding that it's going to work because we have data, we are well prepared, we tested the market, we experimented with low budget, we used a few frameworks which helped us to deepen our knowledge about any specific market. So this formula is basically really simple, it's reliable, and most importantly, it's really, really effective. So that's it for today. So this is how the framework works. I hope it was interesting, it was new, and I hope you're going to use these few frameworks for your startups. And I hope these frameworks will really help you to get more clarity about the new market, to have more understanding about each new market, and to deepen your knowledge before you go big. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yuliia. I think it was very interesting for them who would like to expand and grow. Thank you very much. And now we are moving into the Q&A session. I have seen that there are already a lot of questions, so I think we can start. The first question is from Olivia. Should a founder always be the face of global expansion or not?
So, well, usually, based on my experience, it really depends on the stage. So if it's very early stage, so it's usually founder-led. So founder is included in many different operations, but the later stage, it means that the team is probably bigger already. So founders set the strategy, like set the vision, and then there are either local teams or like the core team that executes. So usually it looks like this.
Okay, but should always follow the process, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
The second question is from Maria. How can we avoid misinterpreting feedback from early test users abroad?
Yeah, so actually, it's a really, really good question because for sure we'll have lots of user interviews, lots of feedback. We'll for sure see many even comments on social media. So ideally, to try to find repeating patterns across interviews and ignore, for example, personal opinions that are like one-off opinions. Because what we would like to have from these interviews is validation of our assumptions. So ideally, to validate every insight twice. So, for example, if we heard about something twice or more times during user interviews, probably it means something big for startup. Probably it's worth exploring more.
Okay, thank you very much. There are a lot of good comments, like really clear. Thank you, very insightful. Thank you for your comments. And the next question is from Jimmy. Great session, thank you. What cultural blind spots should founders watch for incomes?
Thanks, Jamie. It's another great question for especially communication teams because there could be a lot, starting from the tone to what triggers trust, for example. And usually, all these trust triggers are very different across many markets. It could be even humor and how people communicate online, whether the startup should be more formal or we can make jokes. If yes, what's the best way to do that? It's actually um, it's um, it's not easy. So sometimes startups shouldn't. There are so many examples from big brands who expanded to new markets and failed just because all of those mistakes, not checking different cultural differences, and probably assumptions about buying behavior. So it just means we just haven't explored enough why people in this specific region will buy our product at all.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I agree with you. And the next question is a bit similar, but still, Yulia, should global expansion be founder-led or handled by local teams?
Yeah, so basically it again it depends on the stage. It depends on like the amount of team members even. So early markets, yes, because the founder should be involved, should be the face of the global expansion, because it builds trust. So if users at a new market, they see who the founder is, they see that the founder cares, he's always there, he's communicating, he's I don't know, even introducing new product features. It always helps with trust. And once everything is validated, so we built this trust from users, um, the founder can hand ownership to local leads. So, for example, if um, there is like a local team and there is like a general manager, for example, on this specific market, so he could be easily like a new spokesperson and the face of the startup on in that specific region. So it could work like this.
Thank you very much. The next question is very interesting. What do you think in our reality? Can we expand globally without raising a big round? Is it possible?
Um, well, yes, this is really interesting because generally, yes, but we need to validate with small tests. So for sure, we'll need to have some small experiments. We'll need to spend some budgets. We'll need to run even small campaigns, like landing pages, low budget ads, even user interviews. So we'll need to have like small pilots before we understand clearly whether this market fits into our strategy, whether we'll have first users from there, whether our product will be needed there. So for sure, if we run everything, we go to that market, we introduce ourselves, we start building relationships with people, we start collaborations with local influencers, local partners. Um, yeah, we can definitely do all of those without raising big rounds. Why not? But yeah, ideally, even for big rounds, we always need all those small experiments. This is where we start from digging data and insights, basically.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it should be a really clear map for every stage in expanding. Okay, I think we covered everything for now for today, and thank you very much, Yulia, for leading such interesting and very useful webinar for us and for our community. Feel free to connect Yulia. I think she will answer all questions on LinkedIn. Subscribe to the Top Voices newsletter and follow us on LinkedIn to stay updated on our next events. And all links can be found in the description below. Thank you very much, Yulia, again. And thank you very much for joining us today. And we hope to see you next time. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.